My last remark here is that let us commit today as Ugandans, beginning with those of us who are physically in this room and those who are out there, all the viewers, and maybe listeners if this is on radio, that let us be a change agent in ourselves to cope with the inevitable problem of climate change. It is there, and it is likely going to worsen from what science is telling us. And that is a bigger picture which we should all have. So let us commit to ensure that individually we do small actions in all the fronts that colleagues have already highlighted here. On the part of government, we'll commit to do our part. Secondly, I would like us, this is the problem of awareness now, that again, we all become like what the church says, the fellowships, ensure that people are given the necessary knowledge and skills how to survive in the changing mood of the climate. I'm calling it changing mood because it is not business as usual. So that's my short message.
Okay. Thank you. And to you, Dr. Makwas.
Yeah, thank you. Well, first, it's not too late. Yeah, if we act now, we can still stop the worst. The German government is definitely committed to support. I mean, we are here since more than 40 years, if I'm not mistaken. And GIZ is happy to implement whatever the two governments decide to do on climate change and or energy projects to implement in the country. But the government of Uganda is in the driving seat. We as implementers, we are just supporting. So whatever really is change in the country is up to the government and not to the development partners. Yeah? We are just here, well, just and only to support and to help, but the real change must come from the government. Saying that, it does not mean that all the individuals, the civil society, is out of responsibility. No, not at all. Everybody is in the responsibility to do something. And actually we have seen a lot of very good examples in the country where entrepreneurs doing a lot of things. Not in the first point because they think in climate change, no, because they think in their business. And this is something what I think we should accelerate more, we should support more, and this is one of the reasons why in GIZ what we are doing, we are focusing more and more on skill development, on awareness raising, on education. And this is what we hope will give sort of push to have more and more projects in renewable energy, in climate mitigation, in adaptation, and so on.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Dr. Makwas. Now, we do have one more panelist who is in the audience with us, and he is Mr. Daniel Omodo, and I'm hoping that someone will be able to get to him the microphone so that he can be able to say something. We seem to must have stepped out. Well, we'll get into the audience bit of things if you do have a question, because one thing that has been highlighted from the government, and that is through Mr. Honorable Mekut Chebet, he has said that each and every one of us right now is a change agent. So we're going to start from the back, the last hand at the back. Yes, there's a gentleman in a striped shirt. Okay, that would be your left. A microphone will be coming to you, or you could simply walk to the front for it to get to you. Yes, we only have 2 microphones. So just simply say your name, where you're from, and also to who the question is directed.
Yes, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Boazo Pio. I'm a citizen journalist and a blogger at Kampala Press. My question is directed to the Climate Change Department and the Ministry of Environment and Water. I would like to know the degree of importance the government attaches to the two big players, oil and gas or clean energy. So it is now oil and gas versus clean energy, which is solar versus renewable energy in general. It is no longer Uganda versus Egypt. Thank you.
And then we'll move to the lady. Just the lady, a few tables ahead of the gentleman who just spoke.
My name is Patricia Roy Akulo. I work for Danish Church Aid Act Alliance. What we're experiencing is climate emergency. It's not climate change because of the impact that we have all felt. And for us, this becomes a human rights issue when children cannot go to school because the roads are cut off, when women cannot access medical care, or because they are sleeping hungry. Children and women are not having food, or because the homes are washed and buried away. So my question will go to the government. What is government's commitment towards climate financing? How much have we tried to contribute at national level in terms of national budgetary allocations? What progress have we made over the 7 or several years when we realize that we are having a climate emergency? Thank you.
Okay. And there's a gentleman on the table, I believe, the table ahead. Just over there.
Good afternoon. My name, I'm called Sabit Christopher, a student from Makerere University, pursuing a Bachelor of Science in Tourism and Hospitality Management. And my question goes to Honorable to the government. I would like to know, does the government research center consult we, the youth? Because I know at campus at MOOC, we have schools like environment, forestry, tourism, and meteorology. And here the students, we have students, they make research. They go deep in the village, they develop different research about different things. But I wonder, and I ask myself, do the government come to see the things we do? Because me, I'm here, I'm making research, and I'm going to go back, I develop research, I take it to the library, and I don't know whether my aid is going to be developed and put across. Another thing, the good thing, we have policies, but we're not acting. And I raise my case as Uganda, we are really blessed, but we are blessed people. My God and my country. Thank you.
Thank you. Amona Msiba is my name, from World Voices. My concern is to the Commission in charge of climate change. It's talking about that the government committed itself to build more dams and whatever, but the pricing of this electricity is not affordable. I can bet all the middle class in Kampala, in their home they are using the charcoal. If the middlemen MPs are still using the charcoal, how do you expect a common man to live charcoal? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Kwesiga Milton. I work for Presidential Initiative on Banana Industrial Site Development on the Climate Change Project. I am also doing a PhD on climate change, Makerere University. Climate change is real, and Uganda is taking a little effort to fund projects that are related to mitigation and adaptation to help our communities survive this emergency, as some called it. But me, I have a solution for increasing funding for climate change and other environmental related issues in the country, other than depending on UNDP, the Green Climate Fund, which is really not, very complicated to get. Now, the government of Uganda apparently is collecting a lot of money through two ways. One, OTT, which the MPs are trying to dodge. But that money, if well collected and it is put in a pool, that money can increase on the funding for climate change-related projects. Another one is through the environmental levy. The government collects a lot of money from importation of use as I know it, environmental levy. But that money, I mean, the country still complains of inadequate funding, especially when a disaster happens. You hear the office of the Prime Minister doesn't have fund apart from OPM. We thank the President of recent that he has woken up and funded some disaster victims like what is happening in Bududa. Okay? But now, to me, I see we have a lot of money through environmental levy. If that money can be put in a pool, and specifically to increase on funding for environment, don't you think that if our communities are affected, at least the country can restore them, other than running for other donors? And also, why should we wait for funding people who are dead than putting in place mitigation measures that can prevent further deaths, especially if we are to concentrate on mitigation and adaptation? Thank you very much.
My name is Okoye Joshua Tony, a student of KIU doing environmental management. This is going straight to the government. How will the government implement their policy on environmental management? Since right now things are happening. Example, in the northern part of the country, the first season started around the middle of the May. And I hear somebody representing the government was saying there are lots of problems in the north, and he was talking about the grasses that are burnt. Which step have you taken so far to help them come up and to manage such? A number of government projects have failed in implementation of their projects. As I talk now, I believe we have district environment officers, but I've not seen any of the yielding products. You so-called people are cutting down trees, but nothing is done. How will they then implement this one of climate change, which is very, very dangerous, more than that one? Agriculture is so big. Which step has government taken to improve on that? Because it's something that carries a bigger percentage of the population of the country. About 82% or 80% there are relying on agriculture. Which means if there is prolonged drought, there is no food, there's going to be no food, the Ministry of Disaster should be ready to be feeding. Which last year, they took the food, 1 kilogram of food to feed the people who are in total hunger. So I don't think if the government cannot put in much money in that department, we'll be saving lives. In other words, we'll keep on losing life than saving. Thank you very much.
Well, before we can continue with the questions, we're just going to let Honorable Chibet Mekut answer those, because there are quite a number that have come for the government. So, Honorable, I'll let you first answer those before we can go ahead with more of the questions.
Thank you very much, moderator, and thank you very much, distinguished participants who have raised some of these issues. I'll go in order in which they are raised. The first question on the importance, the issue of oil and gas, which we have as a country, our God-given resource which we have is found vis-a-vis our pulse of shifting to renewable energies. Simple answer is this. Government, first of all, we should be appreciative that oil and gas has been found in the country. The good news is that learning from the problems that other countries went through in harnessing, in harvesting their oil and gas, the government of Uganda is taking what we call mitigation measures that will counter and minimize the pollutions what we call emissions into the atmosphere during the process of drilling the oil. Let me use the word both, dealing with downstream and upstream oil processes, including the pipeline, the refinery. These measures have been done. And the good news is that the oil and the gas legislation, which was passed by Parliament, provides that for Uganda, we will not do what we call gas flaring. And you know, if you don't do gas flaring, that's a process where you get a lot of emissions, a lot of polluting gases, warming gases going into the atmosphere. So there are also steps, just in case there are problems. The ministry, for example, working with Minister of Energy, Minister of Water and Environment, has put in place concrete measures, including what happens if there's a pollution, an oil spill, for example. What do you do? And there's a state-of-the-art laboratory at the Ministry of Water and Environment based in Entebbe, which is fully working, that monitors the quality of water, and in particular very sensitive to any possible oil spill when we get to the stage of oil production. So in a simple way, we have taken enough measures in what we call response measures in the area of oil and gas. So no fear, we should fully exploit our natural resource, oil and gas. But in my personal view, I strongly believe that we should get this oil out very fast, because few years from now, the price of oil and gas, fossil fuel, may drop significantly because technologies are going very fast. The international community is saying we should use less of fossil fuels, whether in our transport industry, in industries and so forth, as part of dealing with the problem of climate change. Now, there was a question from the distinguished participant from Dan Aid, Patricia Akulo, on what government is doing in addressing the issue of climate financing. She has observed, which is right, that this era now, we are talking of a climate emergency, climate crisis, because of what is happening in different parts of the country, in Uganda, but also other parts of Africa and elsewhere in other continents. I don't want to inform you the hard questions we got when we announced to the nation that people should plant crops in early March. I think there was a statement at the media center from the Uganda Meteorological Authority on the weather forecast that the planting season was ready. But you all know it was dry. People who planted, all the seeds died. But you can't blame them, because this is the problem of climate change. You've heard of people dying in the Boyce and Ansana, when Luzira and the other person in Kampala are very dry. No drop of rain, but there's too much rain elsewhere. So these are problems that we must confront. So in terms of climate financing, the government is fully aware of this, and according to our national climate change policy, and even the draft climate change bill, there's a commitment by government of Uganda to invest up to 30% of any cost required on climate action, whether you are talking of roads, or of agriculture, energy, and so forth, while the 70% is expected to be mobilized from international sources, including bilaterals. Of course, one colleague said getting money from like Green Climate Fund and other baskets of funding established by the international community through the Climate Change Conference of the Parties are difficult, but they are not all that very difficult. Uganda has got some grants, incidentally. I'm one of the board members to the Adaptation Fund, one of the funds established under the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change and Kyoto Protocol. And Uganda has benefited. Last year, we got $7.7 million grant. This year, we've already got over 24 million USD. And there are a number of projects in the pipeline. From the Global Environment Facility, we have a fund on climate change known as Least Developed Countries Fund and others. So I don't want to go in that area, but it requires us to have capacity for those in government to generate innovative projects and good projects. So this commitment on part of government and the mainstreaming into sector plans and budget is the first step, which already government has implemented through the budget call circulars issued to all accounting officers at the level of government ministries, departments and agencies and local governments and other public institutions. So that's the first step on commitment on climate financing. Now, what is in the climate change bill? This is still subject to cabinet finalizing and ultimately Parliament considering it. There's a provision that talks about on how government can mobilize funding to address climate change priorities. The question from Sir B.T. Christopher, Makerere University, on whether government consults the students when undertaking research. First of all, I'd like to say that as the Minister of Water and Environment, specifically the Climate Change Department, which is the government's coordinating institution on all climate change actions and responses in the country across all sectors of the economy and local government, is fully aware of this issue, and that's why there have been efforts in the recent past to see how we have an instrument, a structure on how aspects of studies, research can be enhanced, because we still have a lot of gaps on knowledge at the local level in matters of impacts of climate change, the cost of this damage, and so forth. And already as a first step, the Makerere University has already established what we call the Climate Change Research and Innovation Center. This is already in place. It's already connected with the Ministry of Water and Environment, Climate Change Department, and there are already a few courses that are already up, starting running. But also on a positive note, maybe we've not done enough awareness. We have been hosting a number of students from a number within the country, from various tertiary institutions, and incidentally even more from outside the country. The UK, the Netherlands, even USA, who have student attachments at the Climate Change Department, who are pursuing their postgraduate studies on climate change and sometimes research. So we will reach out to students perhaps in that area if the information is not sufficient. The second issue is we have policies, but we don't act. This is a question each one of us should be asking ourselves. Even here at the local level, it's not only government. Policies are there, no action. If government has provided a policy and it says plant the trees, can't even at your local level do some action? If it says have energy efficiency, if you are lucky you are connected to electricity, why do you have to leave lights on full time? If it is running water in pipes, washing face, brushing. So these are simple actions where you cannot say government should be doing. I agree, yes, on the part of government, there are areas that have to be addressed. And incidentally, there are some circles of people who say that for Uganda, we are good at talking. We don't act. And people say we belong to a club known as NATO, NATO. NATO is a security organization in Europe and the USA, deals with matters of security and peace. But for us here, they say, no action, talk only. That's how they put it. No action, talk only. That's our NATO in Uganda. But I think we should graduate from that. And all of us should commit to moving into faster actions. I in the same way raised the issue of, this is a policy matter actually. The price of electricity is very high. This has been repeated over and over in some of our engagements, and this is a policy matter which requires the whole arm at a high level of government to address. We acknowledge the fact that the relative price of electricity per unit is expensive. That's a fact. although I don't deny it. And that's why he says, if the allied people who are working are using charcoal, then how can now local communities even change? So that's a problem. There are already some thoughts in that direction within circles of government, and all I can promise is that we'll take this up as a coordinating institution as part of addressing climate change, how there can be some policy decisions or reversals in that area. We'll take it up at political level. From Kwesiga, my colleague, who is from government, his observations are correct, spot on, and congratulations for pursuing a PhD on climate change. Of course, the presidential initiative on the banana development is doing a lot of work related to climate change. We've been working with them. And of course, he has made some solutions which are out of my, can I say my decision? Beyond my mandate to respond to. Can we change part of the money, for example, collected through OTT tax to support finance climate change action? But the debate has started, and this is why I'm very happy to the Nation Media Group for starting this engagement, because it's a starting point for us as Ugandans to engage ourselves. How can we mobilize financing? And that is one of the ways of innovations in mobilizing financing to support climate actions, or to support and provide incentives for the private sector, yes, to give us climate solutions. So I take note of that. But for environmental levy, the position has changed. You are all aware that government or parliament recently passed a new environmental law, and that law has already been ascended to by His Excellency the President. And in that Revised Environment Act, there is now the position of on how that money, the levy, can be utilized is now much more friendly, so to say, because there's a provision for local governments and other actors on how they can access that resource to address key environmental issues that can avert degradation of our natural resources. So that issue has been addressed, and now it's awaits implementation. The lead agency here is NEMA. Now, from Okwil Joseph, Kampala International University, if I go to correct, student. Now, how to address bush burning? How can a government address bush burning? I throw that challenge back to you. Good enough you're a student. If you're a student, even if you are not from that region, I believe the youth, first and foremost, should help us in the campaign against bush burning. It's a serious offense. We destroy what we call soil carbon, and it affects what we call below the ground carbon, which is important for agriculture and many other aspects, even for pasture, agriculture, and so forth. So I want to challenge the youth to take lead in this area, in that problem, that crusade. And the local governments have a very big role. Some youth organizations like the Youth Go Green. Yes. My friend, you are there. Yes, you are the leader of one of the Youth Go Green. Please help us ensure we avoid bush burning the next dry season in the north. But as a government, we are trying to think about other projects on how to utilize the West. And perhaps I use this opportunity to call upon some of our partners who have a concept we have developed, which we believe we can utilize some of the grass in the north to make money for the people there. And maybe we supply other technologies that can enhance cleaner cooking and so forth at household level. Tree planting, I think, is more or less the same principle. You made a correct observation that there's a lot of tree cutting, yes. In fact, Monday this week, I think, there was a story that 9 islands on Lake Victoria have been taken over. Massive destruction of trees, converting into rice growing and so forth. So the challenge was, where's Minister of Water and Environment this? Everybody's working. But the same question also goes to the local governments. Where are they, the local leaders? And you know, Uganda is rich in political leadership at all levels. We are very rich in that. Maybe we could be the richest in terms of political leadership in the whole of Africa. You know that. Up to local council one and so on. So what are their roles if people are massively cutting down trees? So the problem of cutting, you know, policing is very difficult. You can have a force enforcement, but government cannot be everywhere. So there are areas where we want people to be conscious and also play their rightful duties. Agriculture, not much funding, but there is improved funding at least in the current financial year. Uganda is sort of what we call the Maputo and Malabo Declaration that was made by heads of state and government or from Africa on what minimum budget should be focused to agriculture, which is at 10%. But I think the government of Uganda is making efforts towards that direction, and again with the support of development partners, some efforts are going on in that area. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Honorable. Now, due to time, I will only be taking 2 more questions, just 2 more questions. So, yes, there's a lady there. Hand is up.
Okay.
So the lady with the microphone will speak.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Betty Najemba from National Union of Disabled Persons of Uganda. I appreciate all the information that has been shared, the policies that are available. I appreciate the government. But our concern is, when will this information be made accessible in accessible format for persons with disabilities? Yes, we all need to be involved in enforcing issues of climate change in our country. But many times information is maybe sometimes printed in books and it's left there. But we have different accessible formats where we persons with disability can also get this information. Like deaf people this information can be put in videos, in a braille, large print, or even in audio format. This will be accessible for all persons with disability and will all be accessed. We all need to be in the panel, and it's our responsibility, and we are to say no, leave no one behind. We are all lucky, and we are saying that SDG 13 says it talks of climate, and also this SDG says leave no one behind. And the minister talked of youth cutting trees. Now, like me as Betty, I have no information. I can wake up very early in the morning and go and cut off a tree, but the government at the end comes to arrest me. But for no good reason. For me, I will say no good reason. I hope I'm clear, and I hope persons with disabilities are clear. Thank you very much.
Well, we'll take just one question from the front, preferably a gentleman. And I will leave it to the gentleman with a microphone to pick. Well, everyone give up easily.
Okay, first of all, I'm happy for this engagement. My name is Edwin. I am the team leader of Youth Go Green, an organization of young people that are making interventions on climate change. My question goes to Doctor from GIZ. I'm aware that climate finance is critical and it's a very big component when it comes to financing climate actions. And there are very many funds in this arrangement. But you're aware that young people actually do not have capacity, for instance, even to come up with big proposals that can actually compete at any level. Now, when you mention that young people are key stakeholders in climate action and they have innovative ideas, just like someone mentioned, that there are very many young innovators who are coming up with very innovative ideas to address the adverse effects of climate change. How can you make it simple for young people, for the young person who is right now cutting a tree, he's in a forest and he's trying to burn charcoal because he doesn't have any other alternative source of income, and he's going to sell this charcoal. But there is a possibility of getting support to make what we call charcoal briquettes, another alternative for having an income. Now, as a development partner, how do you simplify some of these financial mechanisms so that the young people can have access to this arrangement? Of course, this cuts across. It goes to even government. But as a development partner, as GIZ, and I'm sure you've done a great job, and I'm aware of the group from Germany that the Fridays for Future, they are doing a great job in mobilizing the young people to address this. The last question goes to everybody. My question is, when we talk of youth engagement, and if we talk of youth participation and inclusion, why is it that there is no any young person on the panel? Why? They have, and he said you have the ideas, you have the energy, you have the zeal. You are saying the young people are the majority. Why? If you moved outside there, you are actually going to find young people exhibiting. And they're the ones making these interventions. Why not pick that young person, even a female or a male, put him on the panel to replace an MP or to replace somebody, but also to share their experience, to share their knowledge of how they are addressing climate change issues. Very many of young people are engaged in agriculture, very many of them. But they are not invited to just be on a panel, to share. That's for the reason, as Youth Go Green, we have an annual conference of young people. Now that you are not able to invite us to be on a panel, we decided to bring our own panel. But also, when you're saying we are promoting inclusion of young people and participation, one seat is enough. Thank you very much.
Well, we're going to let GIZ to take his question. Also, Betty's will go to the government. That is Honorable Chebet. And as we do that, for those unfortunately who are not able to have their questions answered by you simply asking them, you can write it on a piece of paper and just bring it to me. And for a few minutes, I'll read them out so that you can be, whoever you're directing it to will be able to ask it, if that's okay.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I first would have one remark to the lady before you. Very good point. We as GIZ, and I feel responsible for that, we are also doing a lot with radio shows. We will think about different medias now as well, more and more, so that you as well get some more information what is going on. For your question. Getting easier ways for young people to have the possibility to access finance. There are no easy ways. Yeah? And this will remain like this. Yeah? Just to be totally honest and blunt. Because people who are giving out money want to have really a security where the money is going, what has been done with, etc., etc. So there are good reasons for it, why it's so complicated. What we can do, and that's also what we already started as development partners, we are doing skill development to help young people, and there are several activities actually ongoing together with NGOs, together with the government, together with national training centers in Uganda to help specifically women and young people to develop business skills. Just to give you one example, because the colleagues from NDEF are as well here, there is this NDEF summer school. I think it happened already several times now. You know about it, I guess. So, and this is something what we can do, because this summer school is really for people just coming from universities to get a first insight of what does it mean to do a business approach, to write a business down, to do some calculations, to but what I can assure you, and this is where we have to be realistic, there will be no easy way to get money for new business. There's the only way to have the skills to participate afterwards in the normal competition, let's say, to getting money. Thank you.
Okay. To the comment from Betty Najemba, representing people with disabilities, specifically from Ludipo, as government, climate change, we take note of the message. The message has sunk to us very clear, and I think we're going to readdressing that issue. Now, the question from the youth engagement in the panel. I must admit on our part that perhaps this was an error. Maybe not an error, it was, first of all, we have the moderator. That was taken into consideration. Yeah, in constituting the panel, all parameters were addressed, gender and the youth. And since there are only 4 panelists, 5 plus the moderator, you can't be more than that. That's how she came in. But on a more serious note, you may be aware that in other functions, the youth are always on the forefront. And so in the other subsequent symposia, fora, we'll take note of that active engagement whenever there are any panels of this nature. That's what I can say. But on the point of skilling and going into business, I think, with all due respect to our development partners, I would like to encourage the youth to establish business arms. If you're an association, use Go Green. You can establish your business entities, small scale, whether it's making briquettes, which must be run on the principles of business. And on that basis, you can then engage with some partners with the view to mobilizing some resources, either in form of loans, concessional loans, some grants for some aspects, and so forth, or putting up equity even. This is what I can say, but not necessary from GIZ could consider, but from also other partners. That's the starting point. And I think that these were the only questions, I think, raised. Thank you. Thank you very much once again.
Well, it's 5 minutes to 4 p.m. That means we are just shy of our 2-hour moderation. So I'm going to just simply ask one particular question which was directed to the honorables, and the other 2 I will give to the government, both I believe going to the government, and perhaps after the moderation you'll be able to have a conversation with them because we're going to be getting into a tea break. So perhaps you could be able to talk to them. One, which is, what is the way forward to the ban Kavera, especially the government implementation? Honorable.
Is it one by one or you are raising all the questions? Okay. Okay, for the person bags Kavera, you are all aware that sometime back Parliament passed a law banning the importation and use of polythene bags above 30 microns, I think. Below 30 microns, rather. But for the total ban, some discussions have already started within some circles of government, beginning with the lead agencies, including the Ministry of Water and Environment, the National Environment Management Authority, Ministry of Finance and Trade. So the discussions are ongoing, and this is a personal matter, which, of course, I do not have an answer. It's beyond my competence to give you appropriate response. But what I can say that all efforts have been recognized to move towards total ban of polythene bags of any micron. Thank you.
Well, for most of the questions that I have received, all of them going to the government, I'll be handing over this to Honorable Chebet Mekut for him to be able to answer right after this moderation. And you can be able to meet him during the tea break. He will have some time to answer your questions. Well, that has been our moderation this afternoon. The panel was consisting of Engineer Geoffrey Sebugwawo, the Director, Business Development Scheme Energy for Rural Transmission within the Private Sector Foundation, Uganda. And right next to him is Honorable Winfred. Honorable Winfred Masiko. She is a part of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, with a focal point being within gender and climate change. And next to her is Honorable Chebet Mekut, who is the Commissioner, Climate Change Department within the Ministry of Water and Environment. And right next to him is Dr. Marcus Frank, if I'm hopefully saying it the right way. Well, he's the Head of Energy Program at the German Development Corporation, GIZ. And I am Rita Kanya. I have been your moderator this afternoon. Thank you so much. And do note that climate change is no longer some far-off problem. It is happening here and now. Those were words said by Barack Obama, and I hope we've been able to take a few things that will be able, one, to inform the communities wherever we're coming from, two, to find innovations to help counter what is happening within our country at this point in time to help the future generation. Thank you so much. I'm handing over to Ben Mwine, the Master of Ceremonies.
We talked about our hand club. It should be a lot bigger than that. Thank you very much, Rita. Are we still live? Can I send greetings to my mom now? She's a very good climate change activist, so I'm sure she'd be very interested in this. We want to say thank you so much. I hope you're able to follow the discussion on NTV because we're live on YouTube. We've got a live stream going on, so you probably will get a chance to see yourself. So what we're going to do, of course, is say a big thank you to our panelists and to Rita. She done an amazing job. I think she deserves a very big hand clap. For being very awesome. We're going to take a tea break as we wrap up. I think what we will do is probably have Honorable Chebet. He has been insisting that we don't call him Honorable, but unfortunately for him, honor is due where honor is due, so we'll insist on calling him Honorable Chebet. I'll ask him to come and give some remarks as we wrap up, and then what we will do is we'll continue the discussion as we do our tea break and do networking. So you're able to ask any questions that you have, interact with any of our development partners, and of course get to know one another and what we can do to fight climate change, because it is with us, as Rita said, and it's something that we must do.
NTV, turning on your world.
At Women, your safety is our top priority. Stay alert, stay safe, save lives. Women.